colored pencil class. This is part one of our lizard. Your picture is in the reference photos section of your email for this class. And I want you to be able to see what I'm working from as well as what I'm doing. On this particular one, I just went ahead and did a transfer. So you can feel free. This is a half a sheet of 9 by 12. So you can just do this in your sketchbook and it'll be more the size of this picture. There was a little bit more here and a little bit more there. So that's just background. And so I don't mind that whatsoever as part of the, just to add a little extra just to fill up the page. You can always trim your piece of paper in your sketchbook down as well. Feel free to do that however you want to. Now, we're going to start in with the background colors, and I want you to see that they're pretty gray. There is a little bit of blue tint here, a little bit of warmness here, and stuff like that. So there's even a little green up into this space up here. So we're going to use our dark gray tones and stuff like that. If you don't have dark gray tones, then you're going to want to add a little bit of color, put your gray on top, burnish a little bit, not pushing all the way into it, and then add more of the darkest grays or your black, on top. So if you don't have any of the grays, feel free to do that. So you're looking for the colors that you see in your background, and I chose a 90% cool gray because this looks very cool to me. Excuse me. Okay, and there is a little bit of kind of a purplish tint, a little bit of green back here, and a little bit of bluish tint here. So I chose the bluish color to be this slate gray, and I'm going to put it in more than one spot. And then the greenish color, I chose marine green for a little bit back in here. And then I also chose this black grape, which is kind of in this center part. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the white of the paper, and I'm going to layer in my my lightest color, which is the cool gray 10%. So I'm literally quickly layering it in. You do want to make sure that you're still going oval, 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 so that it doesn't leave streaks in your paper, in your background. Because there's not any striations to this particular background or anything. It's not like a leaf with some veins and whatnot in it, so we're going to just put in our first layer. A little bit of that gets on the branch. That's no big deal because the highlight of the branch is right in here, and it gets a little bit darker over here, and of course a lot darker over here. And I've already chosen those colors as well. So that's a big part of doing your colored pencil, is choosing your colors. Now I know some of y'all have just a 12 set. So this gray right here would be the lightest you can touch your paper with your black. You're just going to take your black and just lightly touch the paper, and you're going to have this really, really soft black. Now here's my black, right? I have my black and my white and my colorless blender sitting up here separate. But if I were going to do this same color here, I would very lightly, just barely touch my black to the surface of the paper, and it gets close to the same. The cool gray is going to have a touch of blue to it, so your black is not going to have that, but you could always lightly touch a blue, like even a true blue or whatever. That's such a bright blue, but it's, if you just barely touch it up against that black, it's going to gray that blue down and create a good bluish gray color for you, a cool gray color for you. All right, so what we're doing on this background is called a bokeh background. That means whenever you see these little round spots in the background, that's happening in the photography part of this piece, and that just means it's a little bit out of focus, and well, you want the background to be out of focus, so you don't want it to be the object of interest, right? So I'm putting this kind of mossy green down, getting close to the foot here, and just kind of circling around, oval, oval, oval. Then I'm going to take the purplyish gray color that I have, and that's down by his face, and this lightish purple, or I mean this, it's not light, it's very dark if you were to press hard, but I'm just barely touching the purple here, and then there's a little bit towards the top up in this area. So I'm going to go around what's going to be one of those little white spots. So that's where I'm seeing those purpley tones. Then I'm going to take the blue, and the blue is right here in front of his face, but it's also up in that top corner. So we're going to put some of that blue. Oops. It's a factory sharpen, sorry. You want to be able to lay your pencil down. And I'm going to go around another one of those little white spots, a little bit lighter color. And then there's a darker blue right in here. So I'm going to go over that purple a little bit, pressing just a little bit harder, making a darker spot. Oval, oval, oval. Right in here towards the center, we're going to go back to our gray, our cool gray. Whoops, lay it flat or you're going to get the lines. And that goes up in between here. And then there's this whitish spots. That's these, this one and this one. There's kind of two of them right there, and then there's one here and here. Y'all can see them. They're just barely there. Just a little something something in the background, just to let you know it's some type of forest, some kind of garden area. And then there is around this purplier one, it's over here and comes up underneath. We're going to blend into that purple, bring it back over here. There's that other round one. Lightly putting in these little, what's called a bokeh background. All right, it's pretty basic. These actually don't touch right there. There's one, two, and then this one. So this one is not actually there. Sorry about that. Okay. Then you get one down here, one up there, and in between those is a little bit of dark. Notice I don't have any lines. I don't have any hard spots of any kind. This is all super, super, super soft, right? Now you can take Mona Lisa Odorless Mineral Spirits and blend that out perfectly. I don't figure many of you are going to have that. So we're going to use our colorless blender, And we're going to do this in layers. So the first layer is to just meld these colors together, this purple to the gray and the gray to the blue and the, you know, all of these colors. Now, I'm not pushing super hard at this point because I want to push harder to get these lighter colors, these whiter colors out of these, because there was actually, you know, I colored the whole thing in with the gray to begin with. So we want to push those out to get those kind of little spots. So I'm using my colorless blender from the side. And I'm blending those colors together. Oval, oval, oval. You may want to have a tissue or a paper towel handy. Where's my paper? Here it is. Because your colorless blender is going to get dirty. See how the darkness on this side? And you do want to rotate your colorless blender. You can always sharpen it to get rid of that darker tone, but don't go into a light area with dark on your colorless blender, okay? So I'm going to flip it over before I go into this light area. But I am burnishing the whole background. Now I'm back in the dark, so I can't go back in here or leave a dark mark, right? So we don't want to do that. So I'm staying in the dark areas. Blend, blend, blend. I am going to go up on a point here to get right along this tree branch. I'm going to clean it off. I'm actually going to sharpen it just a little bit to get all that dark off of it. Sorry. It's like I start working and I forget to talk. Excuse me. And this is your first layer. Get that dark off before I go to the light. The more layers you do, the deeper it looks and the more realistic it looks. On really big pieces and stuff where you're trying to get almost black, but there's all these little neat little colors in the black as well. You're going to have lots of layers, lots and lots and lots of layers. That's why we don't burnish all the way hard right now. I'm still just pretty softly blending. There's my brush. If you have a brush, feel free to get that out and get away any of the little pencil that is showing up. Getting into the white spots now. It sounds like I'm pushing really hard, but I'm really not. It's just the sound of this table. It's not super sturdy. I don't know if y'all can tell how wiggly it is, but if I was to have been burnishing super hard, you wouldn't see any of these little white bits in this background, right? So now we're going to go with our white. I honestly don't think these are dark enough. In the original set, I went through and put a number 10 cool gray, but I think I'm going to jump up to a 30 when I'm looking at this color compared to this one. This one is too light. So I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of gray into those white areas, even if they are blue or purple or green. Just to really want it a little bit darker so it pushes that background into the background and not I should use darker color there. Okay, so I've got all my spots gray again, or grayer, with the 30%. And if I add white to that, that's just going to go lighter still. So I think I am going to stick with the colorless blender after all. And I am going to add in some more of the color tones. Y'all know me, I love color. So I'm going to put some more of these little the colors that I had chosen up for. The only green I see is up here, but you know, you add one color somewhere else, of course you're going to have green on the gecko itself. But I think I'm going to add a little bit up here in this corner. And I'm going to add gray on top of it anyway, so it's going to mute that green down anyway. So I don't think it's going to hurt anything to have multiple colors. And that's the purple, and then I want the blue. I've got the blue in here. Add some blue into this one too. And definitely blue into some of these spots. Whoops. And then I'm back to the 90. When I get to these longer parts and stuff, feel free to speed these up. I think y'all know how to do a blend by now. So I'm going to gray down some of this purple. It's in this spot. I just want a hint of that purple. All right. Then we're going to go, I do not have 3 in a row. I had 1, 2, and I don't know how I ended up with an extra spot, but it is what it is. I want to sit there and take it all out. And this time I am going to push a little bit harder, getting rid of all the white of the paper, but not roughing up the surface of the paper. It will put some of that wax into on top of the surface. So you need to get rid of it pretty often. And if you don't have like a regular brush, I don't know if y'all have ever used a sponge brush like this. It works pretty good. If you're trying to get a really dark color to go over a light color, every once in a while the sponge brush will push into it, but most of the time it works pretty good. I've got a bunch on there. Let's get rid of it. You don't want these to look like rock shapes. They do need to look round. So if you need to go back in and round out some of your shapes, feel free to do that. The problem with this particular one right here is there was not a separation of these two spots. I'm going to use my white, push that back. Darn. that that line that was in between them. So now it looks like two on top of each other. I decided to go ahead and put the white into those little white spots. After all, I can always go back and darken those up a tad if I need to. I just feel like the white is actually going to do better than this colorless blender. Normally, I would be using the Mona Lisa Odorless Mineral Spirits. So it might end up being a little bit brighter day than what's in the picture, or a little bit brighter forest than you see there in the reference photo. So that's okay. We're going to still have a really nice contrast. He's still pretty much lime green. Look at that guy. And he's got red stripes on top of that green, and he's got some black stripes. So there's going to be a lot of contrast. All right. This week one is to get your background in, your guy transferred off, obviously, your background in, and the bark of the tree, the tree that he's running on. And next week will be the actual gecko itself. This is actually picking off the color from the background. Did not know it would do that. So, I don't know if it's just being on this super soft table. It's kind of pushing into the surface and stuff like that. So, I may end up going just one dark color over this whole thing. And all those little spots are still going to show through. Just to be able to add a darker background to it. This down here is really dark. So let's go to our 90%. Oh, here it is. I thought this was black. It's so close to it. This really dark corner over here. And then you're going to burnish that in too. Just get rid of all those little white spots in your background. Okay, so next you're going to look at the background. The tree. I really can't handle that being that light in the corner. So I'm putting some more 90% and burnish it with the colorless blender. Could actually burnish it with the medium gray. It's picking up some of the wax. This is a really smooth surface paper. It's called Vellum. Some of my advanced class, Sam and Sarah and Elsie, well, we all are actually using it. Rachel's doing a really big one on vellum. But the more you burnish, you get these little dots. I don't mind the texture because it's kind of a cool thing in your background, but I'm probably going to go ahead and do a full nether color of darks in there. Not quite as dark as this, but pretty close. All right, so put away the colorless blender. Now we're going to pick up the colors that you see in this reference photo. Sorry. For the tree. Now, the number one thing I want y'all to see is the tree is actually kind of a bluish tint. Do you see this? And this one is cloud blue, light cerulean blue would work. If you don't have that, you're going to do the lightest touch of your true blue that you possibly can, super, super soft, and then burnish it with white. And then the yellowish tone is very, almost skin-like. It could be like a pale peach, or I think this is the peachy color. So you can kind of see that some of those colors are in there, and beige. But this one was ginger root. I don't know if any of y'all have ginger root, but I see that color in this like mid-tone area right through here pretty well. And then we're going to go into like a golden ochre, or I'm going to put a little bit of the sienna on top of the ginger root and make kind of a mottled effect. And then I'm going to go to the dark brown and then to sepia, which is the darkest brown that you can get in your piece. And then this gray is the 30% cool gray. And this is the color that I'm seeing in the lighter parts of the spots of this birch tree. And then that dark gray that I was using for the background, in every once in a while, there's just a little bit here and there that is this little bit darker gray. So I'm leaving it out as well. So we're going to get started with our lightest color. And that's going to be this blue. And you don't have to worry about the spots. They're darker and go right on top. But you'll notice the blue comes down quite a ways. However, you don't want to not have the mottled effect. So we're going to make our strokes look like they're going kind of around the tree a little bit when we get down to that part. And there's definitely a brighter blue toward here. And I'm skipping over where I drew the shadow of the gecko, because it's very warm. Do y'all notice how orangey kind of color it is? Like a might have a little bit of golden ochre into it. And now here I'm doing that mottled effect. That's just, you're kind of skipping some spaces, and that color is going to come higher here and shorter here. That golden color. And just look at your picture here and there. And then this whole area is blue. And I'm probably actually going to go back and add a little cerulean just because this cloud blue is a little grayed, and this is very blue. The way the sun is coming through, casting all these cool, colorful shadows and stuff. So in my blue set, I think it's a little more tealy than that. Yep. It's even more tealy than that. So there we go. There is a cerulean blue and a light cerulean blue, so that's just what this is. It's got a little bit of a green tint to it, and it gives off that really pretty bluish tone to the tree. This is where I was trying one, and it's definitely too purple. Gotta go over that. And this whole area is the brighter blue, but then there's just a mottled effect of blue here. So I'm not going to bring the cerulean lower than that. I'm just going to kind of model it in. Definitely comes up into this corner. Go right off the page. And a little bit right in here, around his tummy and that shadow, but not right up to the shadow. Should be that gray or blue color. And then down in here. Oval, 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 or you'll end up with these lines, right? So take your time. Do it well. All right, now we're going to switch to our, I've got the light blue, and then I chose another blue. We're going to go to this kind of a sandy color, and this one is ginger root. Choose the color that you have, guys. I could see this so easily just being yellow, or it could even be yellow with a little bit of a like a light brown and then burnished white, right? This going on top of the blue definitely has a little green to it. It's not going to match the reference photo just exactly, but that's kind of cool. The next one was the peach. Oh, sorry. This is beige. It does have that kind of warm peachy color to it. So I'm just going to kind of add that over some of the blue and some of this second color. Just kind of warms it up. Kind of takes that green away, doesn't it? That greenish look to the ginger root color. Now I'll go ahead and bring that on down into the whole of the Alright, got the whole branch kind of filled in with those colors. Then there is this cinnamon color. I'm going to turn my picture upside down, and that's going to be right in here. If you have light umber, that would be a really good color to have as well. If you have, let's see, it's not yellow ochre, it's got the word ochre in it. I'm not remembering the color at this particular minute. After I get that one done, I'm going to go with my chocolate brown or dark brown. This is just a regular dark brown. And we're going to put in some of those on the darkest parts. And it's also kind of a modeled effect, so you don't want to just do lines, right? You're kind of oval this way, oval that way, just kind of, you know, making that modeled look to it. And putting in the darker tones. And then to get that brown to fade into this 90%, which is almost a black, to get this edge to go away, we're going to go to our sepia, which is the darkest brown that you can get. And we're literally going to go into that black area a little bit and bring it into the branch. So we've got this really super dark corner to our branch here. So sun's not hitting this part whatsoever. Okay, once again, since you guys probably don't have Mona Lisa Odorless Mineral Spirits, you will need to burnish all this together, and I would probably use white. So it is going to lighten this blue, which you kind of want it to. Before I do any burnishing, I need to get rid of this line here, because it's a very pale line, and so you don't want it to show up in the end piece. So we're going to want to get rid of that. I don't know what I do with my good eraser. I'll tell you what, I'll just use this one. I can push it up and use the good edge of it, because I don't have any black erasers at home, but this particular paper doesn't need a black eraser. I'm going to get rid of some of those lines on his feet and just soften those out. Okay, well, here we go. This is going to be like watching dry paint, so feel free to speed this up if you'd like. Oval, oval, oval. If any of your pieces of these little marks that you made when transferring your image is not showing through, you can always go back in and draw those in with your light gray colored pencil. Mine seem to be showing up just fine, even though I'm burnishing pretty hard. Get rid of the I didn't bring any of the whites home or anything from the school to do any of these projects, so this is it for the white. Let's pray I make it through this project. That's funny. What's the next? Oh yeah, it's pink, so we can use the Colorless Wonder. If I need to, I can always just stop and use the Mona Lisa. But I don't think y'all have that, so I'm going to try to use what y'all use. So Y'all can see, you know, how it looks as well. I do have an older set over there. I wonder if I have a white. Be good if I just get them both out. So when one runs out, like what it's trying to do right now. Okay, this pencil line here I should have lightened it as well. So I may have gotten some wax on it, and if I did, it won't come off. But the shadow back here is a little bit darker than the shadow that was up by the tummy, so I can probably make that work. Oh my goodness. Not sharpening evenly on the pencil sharpener. And I am going to switch to my colorless blender because I don't want to add white in my shadow, you know. So I'm just going to bring the white down to about right here and then use the colorless blender. Because the white goes most of the way around the tree. The shadow is pretty much only on the bottom half. So let's switch. It's about time because I was just about out of that white. This little bar right here, that's what you're hearing. Tick, tick, tick. on the table. So hopefully you've got this mottled effect going on your tree, that it's not perfectly smooth and it's not, wow. Let's just fix that. You definitely want it to look, you know, the barkish tones and stuff. So it has this really mottled effect. And remember, you do that when you're wiggling your pencil in the application process more than when you're doing the burnishing. All right, this is our white tree. Look at that. Not much white. All right, guys, this is class 1, and you're going to go and put in your background, put in your tree. Oh, I do want to put in those spots. Is it this gray? Yeah. So you're going to come in and put in these spots right on top of the burnished layer. They are not all the same color, and I actually chose 2 different grays. The grays that are way up here are super light. Do you see that? So we're going to make these up here. Well, that doesn't show at all. Well, we're going to have to try a different one. Oh, slate gray. We don't want that. Find our gray tray. See if we can't find a cool cool 50. Not what I want. Let's try this one. Yeah, that's going to be better. You just want them a little bit darker than the blue in the background. They're not very dark at all. Then these start getting darker, and then these start getting like blackish color. So there are a few up into here as well. One here and one here. One way down. So you're just kind of putting those in where you see them. What was this? 30%. Okay. There is 2 right there. Okay. So you're just kind of starting to put in the lighter colored ones. And if you need to, you can always go back and darken them up, you know. So then I'll go back to the 30%. Is there 2 right on top of each? Yeah, there is. This one's lighter and this one's darker. So you can just put these in as the scars and the growth of the tree. I'm having to push kind of hard. It's you know, because we already burnished, but you can oops, you can layer those lots and lots. There is a few of these along this tail where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. That, I don't know, it just doesn't look real to me, so I'm going to skip over those. I know I drew them in, but, you know, I could make one just like really short or something. And they're all going at this direction too. Don't make any of them going sideways or any of them round. They're all kind of scars in the tree growth, and the tree grows, you know, up. So that's there's this really long one. I don't know where it goes. I'm just going to put it in. The pencil line apparently got erased, and this one just goes right off the page, as does this one. And there's a little bitty 2 spots right there. And we're just going to come back into it with our 90% cool gray. And if you don't have that, you just press harder, a little bit harder with your black. And you're just going to kind of model some of these little spots to have, you know, darker spots within them. And you can actually burnish those in as well. There is a, like a tear in the skin, and it is this one. So I waited on that one to kind of show you how to do these little tears. And then there was a dark one there. There's a dark one roughly right there. So this is this one, then there's one like really close to it as well. And then that is this one. Hopefully. So we're going to add a little dark in the bottom of this one. This little bean shape thing is definitely dark. There is a ring around this one back here. I'm not sure that one's even in my drawing plane here. So you're just going to kind of put a little bit of a ring every once in a while around some of these. I'm not pressing the pencil very hard at this point. Just light. All these look a little bit darker just because I had transferred this off. So there's like a pencil ring on a light one. Because I wanted to see where the lines would go whenever I burnished and stuff. So we're going to darken the bottom of this one. That's lighter. Burnish that dark into that one and that one. And now we're going to go into this little knot. And it's darker brown. That is not dark brown. Sorry. Sepia. Dark brown. Here we go. That was definitely burnt sienna. Or burnt ochre. I think it's burnt sienna. And we're going to add this little knot area. And it goes the brown around these two as well. And then there's a lighter spot next to them, which I'm going to jump back to that putty color, ginger root. Oops. And push in a little bit of that lighter tone in front of those that make it look like a highlight. It pushes into the surface. There is a white in front of this one, so if you want to go back with your absolute white, because there's so much color on here, you're going to pretty much need the white to get back to a light color at all. And it goes up into here. And there are a few whitish spots here and there. If you want to add some in, feel free to do that. A little bit of whitish in front of that. And there was blue right there. That's okay. So we're going to go into this scar, kind of comes across and down into this one. You're just following the pattern that you see, and right next to the turn of that scar is white. So we're going to put some white in right there and right there. A little bit of white above it. Should really need to just sharpen my... So you're just trying to build up the colors that are right there in order to make that scar different than the other just striations that happen in the development of the tree. And that's white. Right in between there. All right. So you can add a little white here and there. It's not going to be absolute white because it's in this dark area, but I'm thinking I like that. So we're going to quit with the background and the tree for today, and we're going to come back and do our gecko. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I am going to go ahead and do a dark wash over that background one more time just because I really think it needs it. And I need the sepia color, or no, excuse me, the 90% gray. But if you wanted to just do a light layer of black, feel free. So while I do this, y'all go choose your greens or put everything away, and I'll see you next week. That bokeh background is just not turning out. I may need to do a scraping or spraying some fixative and come back and do another layer. If it's got fixative on it, it's created a new tooth, so it'll hold more paper, but every time I put anything on here, you can see that this wax is literally just coming off. So anytime I'm trying to put a color on, it's literally taking it off instead. So there is nothing we can do about it at this point with so many layers on there. So I think I'm just going to leave it for now and jump on over to the gecko. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.